Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please have a seat. We will get started in 5 minutes. About a 10-second delay.
Well, I sent it like in the
2, 1, go for it.
Good evening, and thank you for joining our community meeting with information for you about the Aspen Acres fire. My name is Daniel Hattelstead. I'm a public information officer supporting Custer County. We have several speakers this evening from Custer County, the state of Colorado, and the incident management team from Alaska. Before we begin, I would ask that we all pause to acknowledge the losses of so many here in the Custer County community and to honor the 3 firefighters who died on the western slope on June 27th. Emily Berker, Nick Hutcherson, Sydney Watson. Thank you. In addition, 2 firefighters continue to receive medical care for the injuries they suffered on June 27th. Following tonight's meeting, several of the team members will be available at tables both to your left and your right as you leave. They're here to answer your questions, provide you with information on appropriate mitigation of your home in the most appropriate zone, that's 0 to 5 feet from your house. The incident management team has opened the West Cliff camp at the Custer School. There are 300 firefighters and support staff working at the school to work on this fire. They're here to support our community and the entire county. No donations are needed at this time, and we ask that you respect their privacy as they seek an area of refuge to eat and rest. The Custer County Sheriff's Office now has 2 additional sources of information available to you on X or Twitter and on Instagram. We will continue to post verified information as soon as it becomes available. Sheriff Smith.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the staff of the Custer County Sheriff's Office, I would like to extend our condolences to all of those who have lost their home and been impacted by the Aspen Acre fire. This is a devastating incident for our community. I would like to recognize the sheriff deputies and posse members who are up here. These men and women have worked around the clock for the last 2 weeks. In fact, many of them just now got days off after 2 weeks in the field. And with them are their families who supported them while they were out there as well. The Aspen Acres fire has tested our community. The number of homes destroyed in Custer County is now up to 85. Our focus now turns to the long path of rebuilding, and we're committed to working alongside the county, state, and federal partners to ensure that our affected neighborhoods are not only restored, but made more resilient. The path ahead will require patience, coordination, and strength, but the character of Custer County is defined of how we show up for one another. We will clear the ashes and rebuild. And on a personal note, I just wanted to thank the members of the community who have showed up for their neighbors who've been displaced. The restaurants have showed up from day one, cooking meals for the responders, and for all of you who've donated water and Gatorade and snacks to keep them out there working. After me, the Director of Emergency Management for Custer County is going to talk about reentry, and it's a milestone that we want to reach. I also want to recognize the amount of stress and anxiety that all of you have been under, and we continue to offer counselors, and they're here in light blue shirts today. If one of them could stand up, where are you? Oh, right here, right over here in the right corner. And so that is available for you today, but also into the future as you navigate this ultimate recovery back to your home. I'm very happy to announce that we're going to transition Wetmore from a mandatory evacuation zone back to a pre-evac, and that's going to start tomorrow at 9 a.m. And one last thing is Patrick Fiore is here from the County Health Department. He will be in Wetmore at the Community Center tomorrow morning from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and if you have any needs from the health department point of view, he'll be there to help you tomorrow and also in the future. So now I'd like to turn this over to Director Eric Silto from the Custer County Office of Emergency Management.
We've been working diligently for the residents of Custer County for the last 2 weeks. We've come up with a reentry plan that everybody wants to hear about. It is a phased plan with risk-assessed zones involving. When you hear us talk about Charlie 5 Alpha or 9 Alpha or Charlie 2, these are risk-assessed zones. These zones are made so we can bring population back into these areas as fast as possible. Now, I'm going to talk about the stages. Stage 1 is what we're in right now. First responders, damage assessment teams, utility teams are out there getting into these areas, finding out how bad the damage is, what's going on, and relaying information to you, the public. Stage 2 would have been essential businesses, places like healthcare facilities or things that are for first responders. We're going to step to stage 3. Stage 3 in affected zones, i.e. Aspen Acres along 165, are going to be introduced slowly. What this means is there will be escorted people going into this area from the Sheriff's Department through a school bus and UTVs. Why is that? It is still not 100% safe out there. Our job is to look out for your safety. We're going to bring the residents of those areas back in as soon as we possibly can. They're going to have an escort. They're going to be able to see their homes, whether it is to take pictures of, unfortunately, the damage of their homes to start the insurance process, or to go into their homes to get medicine, CPAP machines, or anything else they want. There will be a curfew. We cannot allow people to stay overnight due to the fact that power lines are still down, fires are still in the area, and there is a threat of a flood if we get too much rain. So that'll be that next stage. After that will be stage 4, 100% repopulation of the area. All residents are allowed to go back in unescorted without a curfew or anything. It's just opening the doors, kind of. The reason we're doing this is also to keep people that may not belong in the area out of the area. We want residents to be able to go into the area, grieve or mourn for what they could have lost in a private manner. We don't need to open up to the general public, have everybody that's not supposed to be there be there. I hope everybody can understand that we're trying to get you guys back in as fast as possible, and this is one of the mitigations that we can do with the risk-assessed areas. Now, the sheriff has already mentioned that we are opening up 5 Alpha. That is going to be from 395 north in the Wetmore area. This area was not affected by the fire. There are not down power lines, there are not lost buildings, so it's going to jump straight to stage 4, 100% reentry, no TCPs, no needing of ID cards to get in. For the other affected areas, to get into these areas, what we're asking the community is to help us get the people that need to get in those areas at the proper time. You'll go to the Lang Hall and get a rapid ID card, which will have your area engraved on it. This way, when your time opens up, you showed up at the TCP, which is a traffic control point at McKenzie Junction. They'll bring you down, and then they'll bring you out. We're going to open up one zone at a time as soon as the safety margin reaches that area. Again, we're here to help you. We will be here with you through the entire process, not just reentry, but also recovery. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Trent Smith, the incident meteorologist assigned to the Aspen Acres fire. So what is an incident meteorologist? Well, I am a weatherman for the National Weather Service. I got my degree at the University of Northern Colorado. I was born and raised out on the plains of Colorado. So as an incident meteorologist, I got some additional training in fire behavior and how to work with incident management teams. There are several dozen incident meteorologists throughout the country within National Weather Service offices who can quickly deploy whenever an incident management team is called up. We usually arrive about 12 to 24 hours after they are sent out. So what do I do? Well, on this one, in Aspen Acres Fire, we actually have two incident meteorologists, myself and Sophie Adams. Sophie is still back at ICP, or the Incident Command Post, keeping an eye on the weather, doing the forecast, and providing briefings. That's our primary job, is just to watch this weather, just the fire itself, provide any updates that are needed to the firefighters by radar watch through radio updates. And that is our only job, is that we are here to make sure that the firefighters and all personnel out there are safe and can get as much weather update as possible. I work very closely with the fire behavior analyst who will be discussing next. I actually sit right next to him, so that way I can feed him all that weather information. So let's look at what, everybody knows what the weather has been doing. Now let's look at what the weather is going to be doing for at least the next week. So right now we have a ridge of high pressure that's sitting right over the top of us. Temperatures are running about 5 to 10 degrees above average, causing our afternoon humidities to drop down into the teens. The bigger concern with this is the development of thermal belts. So what is a thermal belt? It's an area of the mountain that just does not get very good recovery. Those humidities stay extremely dry, and in those areas, the fire can stay active all night long. So it's my job to figure out where that's at so we can relate that to the firefighters so they can have a heads up. The other thing is, with this high pressure, we're just getting this persistent east wind about every single day. Some really dry air has moved over the area, so we're not expecting very little to no shower or thunderstorm activity the rest of this week. Hopefully this weekend, some of that moisture starts moving its way in. I know everybody's eager to get the monsoon kicked in, especially over Colorado. Right now, the monsoon is going pretty strong in Arizona, but until we can really get this ridge of high pressure to move out of the area, I'm not seeing it at least for 10 to 14 days. But I do think that we will get a little bit of moisture in here by the end of the week into the weekend, and we can start getting some more shower and thunderstorm activity. If you would like to discuss weather anymore, you can find me after the presentation. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Eric Trimble. I'm the fire behavior analyst for the incident. And kind of tag on to what Trent, our incident meteorologist, is saying. Essentially, I take his weather inputs, his RH temps, winds, wind speeds, obviously in the 3-day forecast, and I plug it in a couple short-term models, long-term models, or I just do persistent modeling, and I forecast the direction, behavior, what the fire is going to do today, depending on the field type and topography. So as everyone knows, most people in here know, the Aspen Acres fire started on June 26th. This is a satellite photo of the start. Go ahead, next one. And I have a progression chart. When that thing started up in here, it essentially went, it was propelled by southwest winds, 20, gusting to 40 miles an hour in morning into the evening, and it went 6 miles in one push. The next day, it went about 5 to 6 miles, propelled by southwest winds, and then you can see July 2nd and 3rd, it basically got pushed another couple miles. Those winds and those outflow air masses from thunderstorm activities have since decreased, and the fire essentially is still obviously active and moving, but it's not moving to this kind of level that we saw in the first week of the fire. Next. So, and this is essentially day 2 of the fire. You can see that basically it was west winds pushing it. This is taken near Rye. And essentially this kind of fire behavior, it was, for the most part, spotting out ahead of itself, half mile to 1 mile ahead of itself into the fuels there just north and west of Rye. Next. Looking at today, first of all, I'll back up just a bit. We did have 3 days of moisture. It wasn't really enough it was enough to basically dampen fire behavior in the light fuels, the grasses, the Gamble Oak, Dougfir, and Ponderosa Pine, but it really didn't impact. It was too short of a duration, and it wasn't enough to dampen fuel heat up in the Engelmann spruce country, high elevation country. This is a satellite imagery of today's infrared, and it's showing obviously heat, intense heat in 3 sources here. This is basically Mount St. Charles Peak, and this is near Lake Isabel, and up here is in just north of Fairway, and that's the major heat sources. That's basically what you're seeing from this area. You're seeing the plumes, the fire behavior there. The other dots are basically isolated heat, residual heat throughout the fire, and we use this data to essentially hone in on heat that's basically still buried under logs and stuff, and go after this heat source that's still basically waiting to come up with hotter, drier weather. Next. So one of the measures we use to determine basically fire hazard is our energy release component chart. And what this shows, essentially, look at ERC chart as essentially a kind of an indirect measure of fuel moistures. So when you're seeing, this is our current ERCs, and essentially when it gets above the 60th percentile, we're pretty much in fire behavior, pretty much in the fire season. This line here is the average for this area, and this is the max ERCs. You can see right now, based on current ERC metrics, we are currently basically mimicking the maximum. This is the forecasted. July 18th is basically forecasted to basically be the maximum ERCs. Essentially what it means is that the fuels up there are basically dry kiln lumber, and they're very receptive. You heard Trent talking about that the next couple days we're just going to be hot, dry period, so there's no opportunity in the forecast period for those fuels to dampen out and reduce the fire behavior. What we're missing is, of course, the wind components, where you see a lot greater fire behavior. So I was also asked, go ahead, next ERC graph. So I was also asked to compare this fire to what you guys probably remember from the Oak Ridge fire 2 years ago. And the Oak Ridge fire started June 22nd, and it essentially started right above the 60th percentile ERCs, and it went up, and then within that fire, we had several successive days of about a third to a quarter-inch precipitation, which is reflective of this downward trend in the ERC chart. Then we had another warming period here where the fire got very active, and then right about in here, July 21st, we had an inch of rain. So the inch of rain essentially dampened the fire enough that they were able to get a handle on it. We haven't seen that kind of precipitation on this fire, not yet. Next. So what to expect when the precipitation event hit, these light fields essentially went out pretty readily, and that's what this picture of. This is near Rye, and when that precipitation hit, we basically had a half an inch in this area, if not more. It was very spotty, very short duration. The fields being very light basically got froze, got parked in place by that precipitation. Next. This is the mid-elevation Gamble Oak Ponderosa Pine, still burning in that kind of a low, kind of just creeping in that kind of fuel type. This is the Junkins, the 2016 Junkins burn that was creeping through that, and it was still, the fire was still progressing in that burn. Next. This is up at St. Charles Peak. So this was a few days ago where after the rains came, it kind of moderated fire behavior up in here. And you see the fire is essentially burning in the deep down, basically I call them 1,000-hour fuels, 10,000-hour fuels, basically the big logs. And that's what's holding the heat. So this basically component of the large woody material is what's going to be, is holding the fire until we get a significant weather event, a rain event. Now, I mean, this picture was taken on the day when it was just creeping and smoldering, but obviously like today, we got enough solar radiation, enough basically reduced RH, enough upslope, up canyon winds that this took off, and just like the other two plumes, it basically accelerated and went into the crown and basically took, it's going to be doing that until late in the evening when we have good RH recoveries. Next. So this is near the Junkins burn. This is one of the central plumes that you guys are seeing. This was just a few days ago, and this is in the mixed conifer. This is high elevation, basically Engelmann spruce, burning in that. Next. So this is the field type. It hasn't got up there yet, but this is the field type on the top of basically the ridge system here. We got aspen, we got mixed con in here, and we got dry grasses. The fire, when it gets into this mixed Basically, this Engelmann spruce will probably be stand replacement fire or be a crown fire, but for most part, the aspen here will kind of act as a heat sink. When the fire hits that, it usually drops to the ground and just creeps out of there in the riparian areas. Now, the grass is receptive to the fire, and it will burn, of course, but it basically will not burn to the intensity that it would in the high elevation spruce fir forest. And I think that's all I had. All right. So again, I'll be around for questions. Thank you.
Sir,
Oh.
can I grab that one? We want that one, right here. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Ty. I'm one of the operations section chiefs with the Alaska Incident Management Team here working on the Aspen Acres fire. It's really nice to see everybody out here today, and we really appreciate the support you guys have given us back as we come and work the land and try to get a hold of this fire out here. I'll say we mobilized out of Alaska, although we all come from across the nation to join the Alaska Incident Management Team, but we mobilized approximately 2 weeks ago. And I think this is day 12 that we've been in command of the Aspen Acres fire. You know, a fire, when it's small, you can jump on it, you can grab it like a campfire, you can put it out, you can fight it. When it's big, you have to start to plan, strategize, and really decide what's important out there on the landscape, which is all about making difficult decisions with the scenario that the fire gives you. And this fire went from that little one to a big one that was moving really fast and beyond human control within hours, we were told by the initial attack resources. The good news is that we had a really hard first week, and our second week has been in rhythm. This fire has moved on us a lot. It moved out of the mountains down into the flats, moved through the community of Beulah before we even took command and impacted that community heavily. And ran out into the grasslands and the fuels that Eric was talking about as you get east and it starts to get out towards the I-25. So what does our situation today look like? Across the whole eastern side of the fire, we are either in contained status or close to contained status. That means we feel really comfortable with where it's at. We've done a lot of work in there to mop up, put the fire to bed, make sure it's not going to come back. When you look at one of our maps, and you see black line, that means containment. That means we're in a patrol status in that area. So we've done a lot of work. All across the eastern side of the fire, that's the status. And across the north side of the fire, all the way over to Wetmore in the northwest corner there, we're looking at containment status or really close. So that's evidence of a lot of hard work by a lot of people. Around the bottom, as you go through Colorado City, and the community of Rye, that fire perimeter is also getting either in or close to containment status. So we're making progress on the map. We started as a group of just under 100 folks when we came in, and we're now up to almost 2,000. So that's what this system does when we respond to a fire. Yeah, thank you. And that's what happens. They're from all over the West, all over the nation, really. We have folks from the East Coast, folks out of Alaska. A lot of Californians came out to help. We got CAL FIRE even, which is, I think, maybe the first of its kind. We got 3 strike teams. And it was great. And I will tell you, I hope I don't steal somebody's thunder, but I think we got those because Colorado sent so much help out in the form of firefighters to the Palisades and the Eaton fires when they had that disaster. So let me talk about what we have left to do, which is a lot of hard work. The fire now, our active areas are on the forest mostly or on the forest boundaries, okay? So I'm sure everybody here is familiar with the Mingus Ranch and North Creek. We have a corner of fire that we're working really hard right now in that area. So we're working dozer line to connect from Mingus Ranch over to North Creek and doing firing operations in there to try to put the fire to bed. So that's a tactic we use where we put hose in, we use helicopters, and then we use our own fire to control the fire. We take out the unburned fuel between our control line, which we place in a really good, safe spot for our firefighters as best we can, and we burn out the fuel between that and the active fire front so that the fire's on our terms. So that operation has been going for the last 2 days and will probably proceed for another 72 hours, potentially more. And then if they're successful there, which we have high confidence in, it'll turn into a mop-up show, which is where we use water, we use all the tools we have at our disposal to get that line into containment status like I talked about. Another area of concern that's really busy right now is down towards the community of Rye, up to the northwest of Rye, not too far from Lake Isabel and that little resort community there. So we still have a lot, that little community there is got fire uncontrolled around it. We have fire up on the mountainside. For those of you who have been around to the other side of the mountains lately, you can see it up there. And I'm sure some days you can see some columns popping up from this side of the mountains as well. So what we're doing on that side is really threefold. We've got protection line in place around the community between that YMCA camp, if you folks are familiar with that on the 165, and the Lake Isabel, San Isabel community. We've got, I think we counted approximately 300 some structures in there. So we've got defensive line around there. Again, it's mostly dozer line, hand work, hand prep. We reduce the fuel loads, and we get ready to use our fire in defense of the fire on the landscape. So that's all ready to go, but the fire itself isn't making us make that decision yet. Fire's just on the mountainside. So what we're doing on the south side is putting in dozer line, using hand crews, and we're trying to put a containment line from the 165 all the way up to the high ridge line at 11,000 feet. So we're trying to get that line into the high country, come over the top, and link up with some of the forest roads to the west of the crest there. What we're doing on those forest roads is we're opening those wider. We're using masticators, bulldozers, handwork. We open those wider and make those fuel breaks, also defensive lines. So we get a strategic feature in place so that we can be prepared for what the fire might do. As Eric talked about, it can go a lot of places and a lot of directions over 2 weeks of different weather, okay? So the other thing we're doing around Rye, because Rye is still very much near the fire itself and still in evacuation status, is we're building a large contingency line just to the west of Rye, so essentially on the forest boundary. That's moving south, and what that looks like is a shaded fuel break where we're putting in bulldozer line at a semi-minimal standard, but then we are expanding that with masticator work and that same fuel reduction. So essentially that gives firefighters opportunity to burn off that line, again, using our own fire to our advantage and protect the community on our terms. So I think I'll finish with that, folks. It's been a lot of hard work out there. People have come from all over to get this thing done. And we've got multiple plans in place, and we're trying to get the next team set up for success as we've got another group of folks coming in from the Northern Rockies to keep this work going. Thank you.
Good evening, Ryan Ellerton. I'm the general manager at San Isabel Electric. Also here, John Byer is the general manager for Sangre de Cristo. So the two REAs that serve this area. When we get done, I'll be out back if you've got some specific questions, and I'm sure John will as well. First of all, this is day 15, and several of our employees were impacted just like you were. Evacuated, one lost their home, and so we've been in it with you since the inception. Thank you to all the first responders, Incident Command. We've worked hand in hand and communicated very well when it came time to evac or to restore, what made sense, where we have power lines, those types of things. So we've brought in, right now we've got 13 crews. A couple of those are heavy crews. Typical crews got 4 linemen. A couple of them have 5 or 6 and some additional equipment. Right away, brought those in and tried to put them to work in places where we were allowed to go. As of last night, we were able to patrol all of the main lines, the last one being up 165 towards McKenzie Junction and the end of our system. Fortunate that no substation damage. We've got about 3.5 major substations. the main lines really, considering everything that came through here, are in pretty good shape. When you replace 15 poles on a line that's 6 miles long, we call that lucky. So a little more on just the overall. Right now we've got about 1,000 meters out of power. At the height, there were about 2,800 out of power. So working with Incident Command, getting access to areas, patrolling the lines, figuring out what materials needed. We've been able to restore a lot of that. So the Rye, the line that goes to the end of the system at McKenzie Junction basically starts in Rye, travels past the lower side of the San Isabel Dam on up to Aspen Acres, Terra J, and McKenzie Junction. And again, not as much damage as we had thought. Maybe that main line will be rebuilt by the end of this coming week, okay? Maybe. That's been our focus, is main lines. On the other side, on the east side, we took the same approach, main lines and then taps, and most of those folks are energized and back home. Once that mainline work is done, and as we have crews become available because their part of the rebuild is done, then they'll start to run out the taps, okay? So the taps, just like it sounds, they tap off the main line. If there's a tap that's got 15 meters on it, likely that's going to get restored before a tap that has 1 or 2 meters on it, okay? It's typically how we approach that, but we're not going to drive all over the country to do that. If it's in a dense area, we'll probably run those taps out either north to south or east to west in a common sense manner. Let me switch over to the Wetmore area. So we are energized from County Road 390 north, excluding the tap that runs east from Greenwood and County Road 390. That tap is actually still in a high-risk area, so that tap's not energized. But if you're north of Greenwood 390, if you're east on 96, if you're in the Wetmore area, you should be energized. There wasn't any damage other than a few little things to anything in that area. It wasn't part of the fire area. So let me talk about re-entry. There's 3 ways to get a hold of us. You can call us, 800-279-7432. You can send us an email, contact us @siea.com, or you can come to an office. You can go to Pueblo office, Walsenburg office, Trinidad office, and we'd love to see you. You can check our website for updates. Now, in the morning, we're going to get together with the crews and debrief tonight's work and try to give you some more individualized information. Now that we're through the main lines and we're starting to run out the taps, we're going to know, okay, this neighborhood is days out, this neighborhood is weeks out, and this neighborhood is months out. And a lot of that is going to align with the re-entry process that's been talked about earlier. When you're allowed to re-enter, you should have power at your home, your business, your barn, whatever it may be. You should have power. There are a few exceptions to that. If you get there and you don't have power, please contact us right away, because it may be a different issue. It may be a standalone outage. Don't count on us knowing. Typically, we know because the meters communicate if they're out of power. In the situation like this, where you've got 2,800 meters out and a lot of chaos in the electronic aspect of the system, we're not going to know. So please let us know. If you get in and you have power and tomorrow you don't have power, you're experiencing an outage. It may not be at your place. It may be upstream or downstream from you, but please report it. In these crisis time situations, our technology, as I said, doesn't always work like it did. So please report any outages. As we're restoring, our typical approach that our linemen take is, if your home, and this is whether it's in a fire, just regular situation, if your home appears to be safe, doesn't appear to be any damage on the service from the San Isabel equipment to your home, your barn, whatever it may be, If it appears to be safe, then we'll energize and pull the disconnect, okay? If it appears that this is unsafe or there's damage or we're just not sure, then we're probably not going to energize. So that might be that situation where everything really is okay. You were allowed to get back in, but you don't have power. Please give us a call. Okay. If your home is damaged and you're just trying to work through that and figure out what your next steps are, take your time and maybe you're ready now, maybe you're not going to be ready for a while, but let us know and we'll work with you on rebuilding to that. There's not any cost to rebuild. If you're going to build in that same spot, it's maintenance. We're gonna get you up and going. If you know that you're not going to rebuild, maybe you know that now. Let us know. And what that will do is allow us to get maybe the next person in line on a little sooner. So we're your member-owned electric co-op. We're here to help you answer your questions. I'll be out back. Thank you for having me this evening.
Good evening. My name is Joe Lobiondo, and I'm the local battalion chief for the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control. I was at this incident very early Monday morning when it started. Talked to the sheriff pretty early that morning, and we kind of knew some of these incidents like this that are in the conditions we have, they generally go big pretty quickly. We saw that first thing Monday, but there's a process in Colorado where an incident like this exceeds the capability of the county to control or extinguish. They request assistance from the state of Colorado. So I was there early. That assistance was asked for. We ran through the process that we do, and that allowed us to order a Type 3 incident management team on Monday morning to get them coming, and we also ordered the complex incident management team that's here today helping us through this incident. Very challenging early, but what I can say is the response from all the local fire departments from Custer County and Pueblo County and the surrounding counties that came to help was amazing to see. The unfortunate part is we could have had 100 engines and it wouldn't have made a difference that day. So great effort from all the local folks. And we get through these incidents with the partnerships and relationships we build ahead of time and that we build while we're here and we use as we move forward. So the local folks, the fire departments and fire protection districts, the counties, the state of Colorado and all the divisions and departments that we have are engaged as much as we can be, and we will continue to be. Our relationships with our federal partners as well as we work through this incident. You heard them say that maybe a lot of the private lands are being taken care of and there's a lot of actions to be taken on the forest yet. The state will continue to be engaged and help those partners who provided a lot of help to us early in this incident. So it's going to be a good collaborative effort as we move forward. It's going to be on the landscape for a while, but we'll be here to assist as much as we can, and I'll be available for questions. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Destiny Chapman. I'm the district ranger here on the San Carlos Ranger District with U.S. Forest Service. While my office may be located down in Canyon City, I do consider Custer County my home. I grew up in Wetmore. My parents still live there. They have been evacuated from this fire, and they've been staying with me. My dad used to be a member of the Sheriff's Department. He retired a few years ago. He is now the county judge, so I very much consider Custer County my hometown. I'd like to echo the thanks of the local response teams, Wet Mountain Fire, the Wetmore Fire Department, the Sheriff's Department, and the posse members. They did a tremendous amount of work in a short period of time and really kept everybody safe, and really appreciate their efforts. I have a lot of empathy for those of you who have lost homes. My folks lost their house in the 2012 Wetmore fire, so I understand how traumatic that can be. That was my childhood home that I grew up in, and it was very difficult to watch, that grief process, and it was a long road to recovery. So I really do empathize with all of you who may be going through that. My heart goes out to you. I do definitely have a personal connection to the Wet Mountains. Those are very special places to me. I have a lot of memories growing up there. My late husband and I spent a lot of time recreating in that area, so it is a very important part to me personally as well as professionally. With that, I do ask for your patience and cooperation. As you've heard, we're going to have fire on the landscape for a period of time, and I really appreciate all the support of the community members, and just ask that continued support as we move forward. Custer County is a great, strong, resilient community, and you guys are fantastic at helping your neighbors, and I know that you will pull through and help everybody through these trying times. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Pitts. I'm the Deputy Forest Supervisor here on the Pike San Isabel National Forest and Cimarron and Comanche National Grasslands. My role on this fire is I work directly with the incident management team, representing that local voice and bringing in, like I say, that local community and our partners together. I do want to take a second just to thank Sheriff Smith for setting this all up and inviting us up here this evening to meet with you all. I think one of the questions may be, like say, why are we here? Well, there's a fire on the other side of the mountain, and you guys are downwind of that fire right now. As you can tell, the beautiful valley's filled up with smoke. That we've got to be able to come here, do some outreach, share with you the messages, show you the team that we have compiled to battle this fire. This is a very unique team in many ways, not only because we got folks from Alaska here, but just the way that the local agencies have come together, the state agencies, the counties, the federal partners. We all come together to support the community, but as well fight this fire. We will be transitioning the incident management team because folks get tired, right? We got to give folks a break. And we bring in other firefighters. We cycle those firefighters through. And like you heard, there's about 2,000 folks here battling this fire. And we'll keep those numbers as high as we need to until we get this fire licked. The tough thing about a fire of this size is just kind of what do you do with it? Brian Teig went through and talked about the plan, kind of laid out where the fire is currently and laid out a plan A. We got plan B, and plan C is kind of a combination of plan A and B. The thing about plan A is we're going to go as direct as we can. Try to keep this thing on the forested lands, but because of the conditions that the IMAT shared with you and the fire conditions that Eric explained, it's going to be a tough fight. So plan B is a little bit bigger. We got to come out to areas where we have a higher probability of success, meaning that we've got a better chance to stop this fire, but it is a bigger box, if you will. If we can't keep it in that smaller box, we're going to have to look at that bigger box. And unfortunately, that means it's going to impact some more of your friends, maybe your property, your neighbor's property. But we got to be able to do it in a safe manner and make sure that our firefighters can do it safely and stop that fire in a situation that is going to be something that, like say, we can handle. With that, we're going to have some more communication with you all. We're going to be definitely, like I say, with fire camp setting up here. We're going to be intruding on your community. We know that this is an impact to not just your daily life. It kind of ruins summer. And so as time goes on, the camp may get bigger, it may get smaller. But as Destiny mentioned, just have a little patience with us. Firefighters can be a little bit gruff, but most of us are pretty nice folks. They do work hard. But as I mentioned, they get tired and they get dirty. Firefighting's not easy. And a good warm shower, you'll see the shower trailers already set up, and a hot meal is what they look forward in the evening, get a little bit of rest, and then they'll get back after it the next day. But with all of this effort, like I say, we know there's an impact to the communities. We also know that forest up there that, as Destiny mentioned, many of you recreate in, many of you camped in, hunt, fish, it's going to be different. And with that comes an understanding of just overall forest health and where we're at with our forests. And that's a bigger conversation that we need to have. And there's going to be folks here after this meeting that would be happy to engage with you and, like I say, talk about that home ignition zone, how you can improve your chances of just surviving a wildfire just within or around your home. But as a national forest, you know, we all know that we've had some forest health issues, and we also know that we've got to do some work around that. But in the meantime, we've got a fire to fight, and that's where our focus is, and that's where our priority comes. It's your homes, it's your dreams, and it's our forest. So thank you all for joining us here tonight. I do want to call out one individual before I get out of here. So Yancey, stand up. He's a very quiet, humble man, but with all the smoke in the air, Yancey's profession, he's basically a smoke management professional. If you have questions about smoke, if you have questions or concerns, please reach out and talk to Yancey while he's here tonight, because again, you all are getting a lot of smoke because of the way the winds have set up, but Yancey can help and talk to you about the health impacts as well as give you some insight and guidance on what you could do to maybe mitigate that. So thanks, Yancey, for being here, but that's an example of the team that we have pulled together to support the communities. And with that, I'd like to introduce the IC of Alaska Team 1, Mr. Jake Livingston.
Appreciate it. All right, good evening, everybody. So my name is Jake Livingston, IC with Alaska Team 1. I've lived in Fairbanks the last 25 years with my family. And then as Brian Ty, Ops Chief, was saying, the Alaska team has a lot of Alaskans, but we also have a lot of other people from states all over the lower 48, and we're happy about that. As mentioned, Northern Rockies Team 6 is inbound to take over for us. Our last shift is the 14th. We've already been communicating with them between all of our leadership, transferring information. Tomorrow evening, we'll have a transition meeting, and that's where we'll really sit down and transfer all that information that we've gathered since we've been here. That would include just physical locations on the fire, what's going on, and then contacts for the local communities, the local sheriffs, the local fire departments, and all that. You know, really, the goal with this is to make it as seamless as possible so all the fire operations that are going on out in the field continue without any sort of ceasing. Our priorities on this incident from day one have been to protect life and property, people's houses. Our goals were always to try and keep this fire as small as we possibly could, by going direct along the fire edge. But obviously, as others have spoken to, we have to come up with other plans. And we would be amiss if we didn't come up with other plans to address any potential weather events or fire movement. And ultimately, at the end of it, we'll use a combination of all of our plans, right? Because everything's changing all the time. But we are heavily engaged with multiple projects out on this fire. So we started in the east, in that low grass, the juniper country, started securing that, came around, protected the communities adjacent and within the fire perimeter, and then now we're starting to move up into the high country. So, with that has other challenges, obviously terrain, there's access and egress. We really got to think about how we're going to get firefighters out of places if they get injured, that sort of thing. I do want to give a shout out and appreciation to the local sheriff's department and the local fire departments, local community, the state of Colorado, the dispatch centers, really, and the local communities. We couldn't have done this without you, right? It was a team effort, a lot of local knowledge here that we relied upon. So appreciate that, and definitely recognize all the efforts that the local responders went through just through this whole duration. Pretty impressive. Also, we recognize the stress and impacts from this fire on the local communities. I'd just like to close out by just saying we appreciate the support, because we've been operating within your communities and it's been very positive for us, so we appreciate that. And I think I'd just like to end now, and probably a lot of value of just standing around the map and answering questions that people have. So appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you. Just a couple of other points this evening. We want to recognize Chief Jeremiah Coleman from the Wet Mountain Fire Protection District and all of the firefighters who responded. Those firefighters have been out on the front line and responded immediately for a very difficult situation. One more key issue: many of you will unfortunately return home to a freezer or refrigerator full of spoiled food. We urge you to throw that food away. Emergency management will be working on positioning dumpsters covered because of the incredible bear activity we're seeing, and we want to make sure that the bears are not getting into that. There will be further information available from emergency management. Members of the team will be available at the 2 tables on your left and right as you depart. They'll be here to answer any questions you have, and they're happy to speak with you about any of your concerns. We would ask all of the speakers from this evening to join us right up front here and then be able to answer your questions. Thank you very much for coming this evening. We hope you found it valuable, and we hope that this recovery process goes as well as possible for you. Thank you and good night.